English language, mother, father, brother, sister, aunt, uncle. Okay, you ready? Okay, here you go.
All right.
Your Omaha HIgh with Andy Greenberg.
Oh, you know what?
Your Omaha HIgh with Andy Greenberg.
Do they want me to fix that? I would think so.
You're good.
No, I'm good. It was inside of my shirt before. Okay.
Your Omaha HIgh with Andy Greenberg is being sponsored by Best Buy Signs, creator of the Omaha Parks program, OmahaFastFoods.com, Certified Transmission, Sholdit, Rotella's Italian Bakery, La Peeps Restaurant, Two Men and a Truck, Shout Weekly, Critter Control, Russ Kaplan Investments. Welcome to Your Omaha HIgh with Andy Greenberg, the show that will leave you feeling great about yourself, Omaha's heroes, and Omaha, where we live, work, and play. So park yourself on the bench and have fun. Hi, and welcome back to your Omaha HIgh with Andy Greenberg, the show that you return to each and every Saturday morning. Why? Because it's your feel-good show of the week. It's the show that teaches you how to really improve your life. And how is that done? It's done through 3 motivational vignettes. It's done by learning about a wonderful nonprofit organization here in Omaha, Nebraska, and of course, our guests who've done remarkable things. So I've got a question for you. How many inventions have you successfully done in your life? Well, we have Mr. Alan Tipp with us, who has over 75 patents. You know, that's right, you heard me correctly, 75 patents. And what we're going to learn from Alan is change, is innovation, both in products, but more important than that, mindset. Why innovate? Why change your life? Why take it where it's good right now and even make it better? We're going to learn from Alan Tipp in just a few moments. Alan, I'm excited about learning from you and all the great things that you've done and how each and every one of us can learn from Alan. Well, let's begin with a motivational vignette. And let's talk about, for a moment, horse racing. Here's what I want you to think about. I want you to think about the beginning of a horse race. Every one of those horses are going right into that gate. And they're waiting for the gate to close right behind them. And they're waiting for that bell. Because they know that they have trained. They have trained to go on that track and run a magnificent race. But here's a very interesting thing. The horses do not know what the odds are. The underdog has no idea what the odds are for their particular horse. He has no idea. Now, the person that is favored to win has absolutely no idea what the odds are. All they know is one thing. They've trained for this moment, and they want to give it the absolute best. And that's actually good news, that they are not burdened knowing what the odds are for success or, quite frankly, failure. Because that is the one thing that impacts you and I. Why? Because every day we are racing for something. We are racing for a promotion. We're racing for progress. We're racing for stature. We're racing for more money. And unfortunately, there are people that have spoken to you and me. You know what they said? You don't stand a chance. Are you kidding me? Take a look at that competition. They're so much better than you. And when that bell rings, what do? We let that influence our mindset. And we even say to ourselves on occasion, why should I even bother? I'm already doomed. The one thing that I would like everybody to remember is I want you to pretend that you have no idea what the odds are. As a matter of fact, if somebody comes over to you and says the odds are you of really doing great, don't listen to them. And if somebody comes over to you and says, you know what, the odds of you failing are very high, don't listen to them. You have got the greatest chance in the world just to do one thing, and that's be yourself. And that's say to yourself, when I'm about to start the race for the day, for anything that I want to pursue, I'm going to win. Now, let's talk a little bit about real estate. And let's pretend for a moment that you want to sell your house. And you look at your house and you say, oh, this thing is valuable. It's a wonderful place. I put so much into it. I invested so much money into it. I invested some time. I remodernized it. But then the real estate agent comes along and says, you know what? You've got a great house. But there are comparables out there. You've got to compare your value. You've got to compare your house to everything else that is on the market. And of course, that's the way they determine market value. Now, I want you to internalize that for a moment. I want you to think about something. Each and every one of us should have a high level of confidence. Each and every one of us should say to ourselves, hey, my life is great, my skills are great, my talents are great. I've got some tremendous things that I can offer people. But you've got to remember that there are comps out there. There are other people out there just like you. You have to say to yourself, being who I am might not get me to be the best unless I begin to compare myself to others. So in anything that you do, always keep that internal value high. And on the other hand, take a look at the external on the outside and begin to compare yourself to others and say, you know what? They're going to compare themselves to me because I'm the one that's going to set the standard. I'm the one that they're going to be comparing themselves against. When? Starting right now. When you combine both of these ideas, the horse racing idea as well as the real estate comp idea, and begin to compare yourself to others and have others say, hey, I'm comparing myself to them, that's when everything that you want to achieve in your life will come true. It is this point during our show that we always talk about a nonprofit organization. And this week, we're going to be talking about the Metro Area Continuum of Care for the Homeless. They're also known as MATCH. They provide technical assistance and quality improvement to unite the efforts of shelter, housing, supportive services, and faith-based organizations that serve homeless and near-homeless individuals and families right here in the metro area. MATCH works in partnership with local nonprofit homeless organizations that provide care to over 6,500 homeless individuals right here in Douglas, Sarpy, and Potawatomi counties each year. Each of MATCH's member agencies maintain diverse projects, programs, and staffing to serve and support homeless families and individuals within the Omaha and Council Bluffs area. MATCH and its member agencies work year-round to implement the 10-year plan to prevent and end homelessness. MATCH competitively captures nearly $4 million annually in federal funding on behalf of nearly 25 local homeless assistance projects. Since MATCH's incorporation in 2006, the organization has captured nearly $30 million overall in federal funding to directly benefit local nonprofit programs. To learn more about MATCH, visit www.endhomelessnesstoday.org or contact MATCH Executive Director Charles Cooley by calling him at 402-680-2184 or email at ccooley@unomaha.edu. So here's a question for you. Do you like change? Most of us don't. Do we like the old wagon wheels? Most of us don't use a wagon wheel. Why? It will not work on an automobile, even though it will continue to work on a wagon. What's this all about? It's all about innovation. It's all about change. It's all about product change. It's also all about personal change. And we have none other than Alan Tipp, who has held 75 different patents, some of them in the United States of America, some of them even outside. Let's begin a journey with Alan to learn about your personal innovation and your product innovation. Alan, welcome to the show.
Thank you. Appreciate you having me.
My pleasure, and I'm excited to learn about change. One of the first things that come to my mind is as follows. Fashion, automobiles, watches, they're always going under some sort of a change. And even I sit back and say, why? I'm happy with the way things are. Why do people have to change things on me? I'm thrilled with the way they are. So from your perspective, why change? Why can't we just leave things the way they are?
Well, I think there's a desire to have new. Just an obsession, I guess, with it. I want the new. I want the most updated. I started with my iPhone 1, and now I need iPhone 2. I need iPhone 3. I think there's this tendency for, there's a kind of proliferation of stuff, if you will.
Okay.
And a lot of people, I think, just get fed up with, well, it's because they've dealt with products that just don't work.
Right.
And if the product doesn't work and it doesn't tell a story or doesn't do something for you to bring it to life, then I think you just kind of get disenchanted with it, and then you want the next new thing. So I think it's important as a designer to be conscientious of that, so that you're designing things that are sustainable,
right,
that'll stand the test of time, like a really good watch, or a nice pair of boots that, that get better with age.
Sure, sure.
Not just, trying to follow the next latest trend, but really design something for function and to have inherent practical utility and value.
And I love what Alan said, because from his perspective, everything needs to change, even though we're happy with it. Now, it's the same thing with your personality. It's the same thing with the way you look at your life. You might wake up in the morning and say, you know what, I'm happy with everything that surrounds me. And that's marvelous, until you begin to say to yourself, hey, I'm happy, but how can I be happier? How can I make my life even more functional? And I'm going to throw two words out. And Alan, I think these words are very important to you. There's revolutionary change and there's evolutionary change.
Right.
What's the difference, and how does that drive you?
I think it's really part of the foundation of the work I do in my career. It's about designing things that are functionally breakthrough products. And to come out with a breakthrough or a revolutionary, you have to think differently. You have to do it in a new way. I mean, to kind of steal Apple's tagline, it is to think differently. But you got to have a new approach, a different mindset, and a lot of that comes from observation. But you have to then be able to apply that in a way that's never been done before. And those aren't easy things to do. I think if you try a revolutionary or an evolutionary approach, yeah, I can alter this and this and make things better. And there are plenty of products that do that to date. But to find the things that really are life-changing and offer a solution that hasn't been done before, those are the hard ones.
So I'm going to make an assumption. A lot of people have an idea about thinking out of the box.
Right.
And I'm just going to take a wild guess here. You are not a person that's stuck in the box.
Right.
Okay. How do you break out of that? Because most people have a problem with that.
It's funny you say that. I think early on in your career, you're probably the most innovative in terms of your thinking. And I think what kind of being in an institution or being in a corporate design world, you kind of do get stifled by other things that you're just like, oh, people say that's not going to work, that's not going to work. And you want to try to not believe that, but you want to also try to think, what are the new ideas? And I think surrounding yourself with younger people actually helps to then free some of your thinking, because someone who's green to this is going to come at it completely different than the way I would necessarily do it through all my history and experience. So I think, there's a part of risk-taking that comes along with it, and there's a part of throwing caution to the wind, or taking, I think as I get older, more calculated risk based on what I know. But to be unabashed or uninhibited to be able to make some of those just the wacky ideas, the things that people are too quick to dismiss, is part of the process. So I do think it's important to surround yourself with those folks that do that, and also just not get clouded in your thinking. And step away from the office, get out of it, that kind of thing.
And I think one of the things that Alan also brought to our attention is as follows, as we're talking about thinking out of the box. Here's a question for you. Who created that box in the first place? And who put you in that box? You see, most of us have done that. We built our box and we climbed into the box, and therefore we said to ourselves, hey, I can't get out of this because I am not an out-of-the-box thinker. So rule number one that we heard from Alan is, number one, get out of that box, even peek a little bit, and find those people who are outside. Don't invite them in. Just break that box apart and become part of their world. And that's one of the simpler solutions to adding change, to adding innovation to everything that you do in your life. So rule number one, don't build a box around you. And if you happen to build that box, don't climb into it, and just break it apart and look for those people that are around you. So you've got 75 different inventions. Now, as you went through some of those, how many of those did you originally think about? And then you created a design and it failed. And you looked at it and you said, oh my gosh, it's a failure. Did you give up or did you continue the pursuit?
I think it's always about continuing. It's never really done when it's done. In fact, in the patent world, you spin things called a CIP, which is a continuation of part, which means you're building upon the patent you already have, and you're going to now add one more widget to make it that much better. Right. So we generally try to keep patents pending so that you can continue to build on them, other than getting them issued at a certain date. There is time to kind of seal the deal, but it's part of the process, I would say. You need to iterate and iterate until you come up with the right ideas. And yeah, I've had things fail on me, and that's how you learn, and that's how you grow. And
you never gave up.
No, you got to continue
the fight. With it, right?
That's right.
So how many of us have a tendency to give up the moment that we try something? We have this great idea. I'm going to give that a try. Yep, I thought of something. I'm going to give it a shot. So we try the very first time. And you know what you do. You give up, you put it away. I tried, all right, fine. One of the things we want to learn from Alan is failure is part of success. Failure is part of building. And once you have it done, you can always add on to it. Because one of the inventions that you have are sunglasses,
Yes.
right? So we think about sunglasses. All right, big deal. I'm going to put on a pair of sunglasses. The only thing I expect it to do is to protect my eyes from the sun and the glare. But you know that's not true, because there are fashion sunglasses, there are sporting sunglasses, and there are different ways to make it. So give us an example on sunglasses, how you did something and even made it better.
You know, I think one example is kind of just goes from talking to folks. You know, we designed this particular sunglass here for Major League Baseball players, but it started with talking to high school athletes.
Okay.
We went to All-America baseball game, and we started talking with them and watched behaviors. And the traditional behavior with people who are not wearing glasses at the time, let's say it's not sunny out, you
Right.
store your glasses on top of your head.
Oh yeah, we've all seen that.
So, and they tend to do it upside down. I don't know why.
Yeah.
It's not like this, but they just kind of keep it
Right.
upside down, or they put it in the
They
back.
want to
there.
look different.
But it is engaging with the bill of the cap, and I noticed that, and you know, then they'll go and they'll dive for a ball, and you'll watch the glasses fall off. But there's this cap gripper built onto this one, but it comes from observing that behavior, so that now the glass remains more secure when it's on the hat.
So when we see Major League Baseball players having those sunglasses and they're not falling off as they're going after these
That's right.
remarkable catches,
Yep.
we think about Alan Tipp and we say, hey, we found the inventor of that. And what did he do to invent it? All he did was observe. All he did was observe a need that was not met, that most people didn't realize that they had that need. Now, you can do the same thing, by the way, because I found out something very interesting. When a person is born and the doctor holds the baby upside down and smacks you on the behind, the doctor gives the same opportunity to everybody. The only difference is, or one of the major differences is, how you use the creative juices around you. Because what Alan just showed us is absolutely remarkable. Now, he's got something else that he developed for the NFL. So concussions is a big thing, and the quicker you get to an injured player to determine whether they have a concussion or not, the better off their chances for recovery are.
That's right.
So how did you help that?
Well, you started seeing, we came out with this product in 2005. It's a football visor shield that goes underneath the face mask. The difference in this shield versus anyone else's is not only material choice, but is the mechanism in which it attaches to the face mask.
Okay.
Traditionally, there's this barrage of male and female connectors, and then there's a washer, and then there's a spacer, and both sides evolve using a screwdriver on the inside and the outside to mount it.
Rather
So
cumbersome.
Very cumbersome, and you'd find parents and coaches and equipment managers very frustrated that if it rains in a game and they don't want to keep the visor on because all you see is water spots, they want to take it out in a hurry. And the second reason is, like you mentioned before, with concussions. So if you need to get to a player, the problem is I can't get a little teeny screwdriver inside of there, and you're messing with it. So we came up with this. It's a thumb screw, which then just unwinds.
That's
and
it.
It comes off. It's two pieces, a lot
That's
less
it.
pieces to lose, and you know it just goes right on the
Right.
helmets. And you'll see this in the NFL without the logo.
Yeah.
You'll see it in college and high school as well. It's used today.
You know, I'll tell you what the pity is. There are a lot of people watching this right now, and they're saying to themselves, geez, I wish I would have thought of that. Or even quite the opposite, they're saying to themselves, you know what, I thought of that, but I didn't do anything about it. And one of the things that Alan is showing us is as follows. When you think about something, don't wait for someone else to invent it, right?
That's right.
When you think about something, when you see a need, when you find something that is actually going to solve a problem and make somebody else's life better, take the pencil and paper, get some ideas behind it, and as you mentioned earlier, find some people who will support you and get it done. So one of the things I'd like you to think about is I want you to think about that list of things where you said to yourself, I wish I would have thought of that, and you did nothing about it. Now I want you to think about making a list of things you did think about it, and then say to yourselves, this is what I am going to do about it. This is how I'm going to create this. This is how I'm going to help myself. This is how I'm going to help my family. And by the way, it doesn't have to be an invention. It could be anything in life, anything in your life that'll make it even better for you. Now, Alan, have you ever had a product where you had taken it from the original idea and everything went perfect for you without any obstacles or stumbles, or you might have gotten it done quicker than society says or standard says that, yeah, it's going to take this long?
Yeah, absolutely. I have an example here with me. Typical sunglass takes about 18 months to develop from start to finish. I think we saw an unmet need, and we came out with this sunglass. It's one of our best sellers.
Right.
Right out of the gate. This took 4 months to develop. It's probably one of the fastest timelines. It came after probably producing collections for a good 3 years prior to this one.
Right.
But I think you take all that knowledge and know-how and the mistakes you learn from, so that the next time you do it again, you get the fit right. You get everything right about it. And I'd say everything was right about this. I would say this was 100% done. It went out to market. It sells beautifully. I think I feel like there's always room to improve, right? So year 2, we came out with the exact same sunglass. The only difference is the temple, the ear stem, if you will. This has a co-molded design, which is great for keeping materials, to have flexibility and rigidity where you need it for a proper fit. But this is a spine-inspired one, which offers a lot more comfort, flexibility, but a little bit more visually arresting design. So, yeah, I mean, I'd say I thought it was done, and then it wasn't done because it came back. But again, this still remains as the same top seller, same face.
It's I have a saying, and I want to get your feeling about this saying. My personal saying is as follows: create the future, then make it history. What do you think about that? How do you react to that?
Yeah, I think it's like get the job done, and I think I like. I had a boss always say to me, the effort and energy you put into something is good enough to get you to where you are today. Right. But it's not going to be enough to get you where you want to be tomorrow. So it's always about evolving.
Sure.
Yeah.
And that is a terrific saying. The energy that you put in today is good enough for today, but it's not going to get you to where you want to be tomorrow, which again says everything is evolutionary. By the way, change is good. I think if there's one theme we're going to get out of this particular interview with Alan, change is good, change is important, change is a natural part of evolution and revolution. Now, the question that you need to ask yourself is, is as follows. Do you follow change or do you create change? Because when you create change, things work out terrifically for you. And you mentioned a boss before, so I have a very quick story. I had a boss one time years ago when I used to be in marketing, and I wanted to get a pat on the back. So I walk into my boss and I said, hey boss, you know what, 9 out of the 10 last ideas that I had were terrific and they worked. And then the boss says to me, well, you're not a very creative person then. The opposite of what I wanted to hear. I said, what do you mean? And he said to me the following: what you should be telling me is 9 out of every 16 of your ideas worked, which means you had 7 failures, which means you are an out-of-the-box thinker. How do you feel about that?
I'd say bravo. But
yeah.
I'd also, in a similar environment, I would say, I might kind of make a joke, I get laccolades, and it's kind of the lack of getting an accolade.
Ooh, never heard of that before. There's a new word.
There's a new word.
Laccolades, great.
Because it's not always about getting the attaboy, the pat on the back. I think you'll end up seeing the fruits of your labor when you see it walking down the street, or when I see designs sitting on the shelf.
Right. So self-driven.
Yeah, you do have to find that.
So as
motivation.
we review everything we talked about, if there was one thing either that we talked about or didn't, that you would like the audience to remember, a profound moment, you've had about 4 or 5 of them already. So if you want to add one more to it, what is a memorable moment you want everybody to remember from the things we've talked about?
I think for me, it's just, my philosophy is really about observing. I constantly observe in my surroundings, and I take it all in, and I try to find the unmet need, and I try to solve problems. And I don't know if it's easier said than done, and I think everyone has it in them to be able to be creative, and I think you can make a meal and make a dinner for your family, and that's a creative process. But then to truly take it to a different level and actually make a product and develop it, I mean, there's the heart of the heavy lifting, I guess, of design is really developing it. So it does take work and tenacity and a level of commitment to your craft. So yeah.
There you go. Alan, thank you so much. I mean, but you just taught us, for many of us, is our own revolution.
Awesome.
Because the revolution that he just talked about is the tenacity about it and all the things that he just mentioned. Now, along those lines, let's talk about the third vignette. And I want you to imagine something. I want you to close your eyes for just a moment. And I want you to think about sitting in a chair. Now, you've got to close your eyes for this one, all right? Got it? Go ahead and close your eyes, and I'll keep silent for a moment, which is hard for me. And just think about sitting in a chair. Now, when you thought about that chair, what type of a chair was it? Was it a wooden chair like this? Was it a lounging chair? Was it a big sofa? By the way, where was the chair? Was it in your office? Was it in your home? Was it on the beach? Was it at an outdoor cafe in a particular city? Because the way you think about something as simple as that gives you some insights as to what your priorities are, to what your wishes are, to what your goals are. So, for example, if you thought about the chairs in the office, yep, you're work-oriented. If you thought about a chair on the beach, oh, that's so relaxful. That's rewarding for you. If you thought about the chair someplace else, in a cafe in a foreign country, you love travel. These visualizations help you understand what your dreams are, what your aspirations are, and what your future is. So let's go ahead and review exactly what we've learned about this show. Number one, remember that horse racing? Never, ever, ever think about the odds that somebody else has given you. You are the one in that gate. You are the one running the races. You are the one that's in control of what you do and how good you do it. And remember, as good as you are, you've always want to make sure other people compare themselves to you. And you want to set the standard. You want to be that incomparable person that everyone says, I want to be like you. But you've got to have that value. You want to think about, of course, sitting in that chair. You want to make sure it's a comfortable chair. It could be a leisure chair. Anything that you think about gives you the insights as to what you can and will accomplish in your life just by going through one or two exercises like that. And of course, we want to remember all the magnificent insights that Alan Tipp gave us today. 75 different inventions. How many can you do? You know, if you thought of 76, I like that because that means you're a competitive spirit. If you thought about one or two or three, even if they're not registered with the government, if it's something that you will do differently as a result of what you learned today about change. And you know what? I have an idea for you. Don't invent anything except for one or two changes, evolutionary and revolutionary in your life, that you can take care of, that you will enjoy. And by the way, next week we've got a really special show coming up, because next week we are going to meet people who are part of a beauty pageant. But it's not your regular beauty pageant. It is the Amazing Miss Junior pageant, where the physically challenged actually have pageants, and it is so inspirational and wonderful. So where are you going to be next week at this time? Right here on your Omaha High with Andy Greenberg. We'll see you then. Your Omaha High with Andy Greenberg was sponsored by Best Buy Signs, creator of the Your Omaha High with Andy Greenberg was sponsored by Best Buy Signs, creator of the Omaha Parks program, OmahaFastFoods.com,